Hello everyone. So today we are here for a Syndra Guide where I will give you tips that I used to get from low diamond to master with just playing Syndra in not that much time. These tips can obviously be used if you are lower than diamond, for example platinum, gold or even lower. But if you are already master or above, like grandmaster, challenger, etc., you are way better than me. But you can still stay because I believe that some of the tips that I'm going to talk about today are not really present in the other guides and are still really impactful on the way you are playing the game. So, during this video we will go through these different parts. First I will briefly explain who I am and I will show you the games of the Master Rush. I will then tell you why you should main Syndra and we will simply go from the most important tips to the less important. The tips that are considered less important are still really impactful, as I said before. That's why I suggest you to stay until the end of the video. This is the order for the tips I'm going to talk about. In real life tricks, summoner spells, build, runes, spells, spell tricks, combos, general gameplay tips, bans, skins, and to conclude I will give you one final advice. The timestamps are in the description of the video if you are particularly interested in all of those. You can check in the comment section below for the guides updates. I used to be an Hearthstone player, but played many other competitive games where I love to try hard and try to understand the game as much as possible. My Piccolo on Hearthstone was top 200 Europe, but I stopped playing it since the competitive scene was slowly but surely dying. I had to try out another game and my choice was League of Legends. I was already playing it a bit casually, reaching Diamond 4, Diamond 3 on the most every season for the last 4-5 years, but I never had the time or the will to go further. I started theorycrafting the game and give it way more competitive interest a month ago and managed to get from Diamond 3 0 LP to Master in 1 week with honestly not that much effort with the tips I'm going to show you today. And it took me 1 week and 30 games with a win rate of more than 80% on Syndra. And so those are the games I'm talking about. As you can see, I played 30 games, 4 of them were jungle ones, and the 26 others were just Syndra, with only 5 losses for 21 wins, so a bit more than 80% win rate, as said before, on the champion. Why you should play Syndra? The first point is that Syndra is a very good blind pick and is playable in a lot of games and is almost never banned. She has crowd control, which is always appreciable in solo queue, very high burst potential that can one-shot everyone including bruisers and tanks if you are ahead. No one is safe from being suddenly one-shot by a fed Syndra. She also has good laning and very good scaling with her passive. Say this way, the champion is perfect for solo queue, except the fact that she will never have the same capacity as an assassin to kill someone and get out. I believe that Syndra is one of the best solo queue picks in mid lane. In real life tricks. So these advices might seem a bit dumb and maybe a bit obvious for some of you, but they are the most important in my opinion I can give you even if they are not in-game ones. I will mainly talk about 3 of them. First one is to sleep if needed or do whatever you can to put you in a better mood before starting a game. I believe that if you are not well focused because you are tired, you will obviously be more sensible to tilting and you might miss kill windows or lose attention, throwing your lead or even the game because of that. So please don't start a game if you are not in a good mood or tired, you will just waste your LPs and your time and it will put you in a bad mental situation for your future games. Secondly, try to always have the same setup to play the game. There, I'm talking about the distance between your eyes and the screen, your body and the keyboard, your mouse sensitivity, etc. The last advice I will give you for this part is to warm your hands, because even if everyone knows that playing with cold hands is a pain in the ass and really slows down your capacity to react to the enemy's decisions, not much people takes the time to warm them by, for example, washing them with hot water. Summoner spells. I saw players running Ignite and Flash, but as you can see in my games, I always run TP. Why? because I need to always have map presence in solo queue, and Ignite isn't needed in most cases to kill your opponent. CS and Gold lead will give you enough stats to kill him. Moreover, if you die early game with Ignite or any other summoner spell, your game is basically over and you will have to pray for your allies to carry you, which is not how solo queue works. You always have to be better, even slightly better than your opponent to have a positive win rate. With TP, you can always make a mistake early game and be even in farm, and if you die early game, just TP back to lane as if almost nothing happened. Your opponent will sure have a lead on you, but at least you will minimize your XP, gold, and tempo losses. I believe that running cleans or exhaust in some matchups or specific champs, for example Ashe ADC and her arrow, or Lissandra mid with all her CC on W and R, picking cleans isn't that bad of an idea in this case, since it can save you so many times and avoid getting caught in crucial timings, same for exhaust against Z or assassins in general. But I personally still prefer TP in every matchup because of the benefits I just talked about and the consistency it gives you as Syndra to outfarm and one-shot your opponent. Build. So to begin with, I would like to talk about small items that you can buy at the very beginning of the game. So you will basically start with the Ransom and 2 pots. If you are very confident in your matchup, you can start with just 1 pot, so you are not wasting 50 gold for your first back. So most of the time, if you didn't get a kill, you will have enough gold to buy just 2 tomes. And if you are confident and or in a good matchup, you can buy 1 tome and 1 dark seal instead. If you are sizing really good, you might even be able to buy 2 tomes and a dark seal, sorry. Now, if you are ahead with 1 kill or godlike CSing with just 1 pot start, there are 2 options for you. The first one is to buy Lost Chapter, so it will give you 40 AP and CDR, or 1 tome plus 1 Blasting Wand or Codex, depending on if you are going to buy Luden or Liandry. And the second option will give you 60 AP or 50 AP, 55 AP, sorry, if you buy Codex, and a bit of CDR with the Codex. So the first option, Lost Chapter, actually doesn't give much AP, it just gives 40 AP, and the second option will give you 55 or 60 AP. That's the difference there that we are going to discuss. So you will want to buy a Lost Chapter if you think you can surprise your opponent with more damage, or will run out of mana before killing him. Most of the time it's actually the safest option. But sometimes you will want to buy Tome and Blasting Wand or Codex if you want to surprise the enemy and if you don't need mana before next back to take a lead. So there are actually other situations possible, but there is one thing I want you to remember. It's that if you have 350 gold left after buying Tomes, Blasting Wand, Codex, your mythic or even second items such as Shadow Flame or Void Staff, don't forget to buy a Dark Seal to maybe upgrade it into a Magi later in the game. It will give you like good stats, a bit of HP, and like the item just not balanced. So if you have some golds left and you don't know what to do with them, buy a Dark Seal. So now let's talk about the core items. The very first question we are going to ask ourselves is, do we buy Luden or Liandry? After terracrafting it, I discovered that Luden is most of the time better than Liandry, even against targets who has MR or HP. But there are some cases where you have to go Liandry and not Luden. I won't explain all the calculations I've made to come to these results, but the only matchups I don't go Luden but Liandry are Akali, Veigar, Ryze, Cassiopeia, Sylas, Talon, Vladimir, and all the top laners that are played mid, such as Renekton, Cassante, Gragas, Sho'gaf, etc. If you buy Luden, always go Shadow Flame second. If you buy Laundry, always go Void Staff second. That's the rule. I saw some guides that were showing very high MMR current players running a defensive item second, such as Banshee. This is a pure mistake to do in your games. Let me explain. The thing is, we are not playing at the same level as them. In fact, building defensive items second to keep a lead and be 100% sure that you won't throw it away is the good way to play the game if there isn't much level difference between you and the opponent, which is the case in high MMO games where everyone is around the same level. But for us, in Master Tier or below, so not high MMO games, it's a good MMO, yes, but it's not high MMO where everyone is super good, it's really different. We did more damage to kill people and get a bigger and bigger league because we are in the mindset that we are way better than the enemies, which is the mindset that you need to have to grind ranked games. The third item will almost always be Rabadon. The only case where you can go defensive items such as Banshee or Zunia is when you are ahead with a Dark Seal stacked, but you are still very sensible against the enemy team because they have too much engage, Ekarim, Olaf, and you can get caught easily. In this case, you buy Magi, and then you buy Zunia or Banshee to kind of protect your Magi stacks. Depending on the enemy team, you will buy Zunia or Banshee. For example, if there is Ash Arrow, you buy Banshee. If there is Malfit ult, you buy Banshee. If there is Fizz or Zed, you buy Zunia to avoid their burst, etc. Rabadon is mandatory in your items, so you will anyway just build it as your third item, or your item following your defensive item after building your Magi. Those are some examples of build order. If you build Luden, you will finish your boots first, then you will go Shadow Flame second and build Raybadon third. After the Raybadon, you can build either a defensive item such as Zunia or Banshee, or build Void Staff if you want to one-shot Bruisers and tanks as well. After the Shadow Flame, you can also go Magi instead of Raybadon, and you will do that at one condition: if you have your Dark Seal fully stacked, so at 10 stacks, you will do that, and then build a defensive item such as Banshee Zunia, there are just two of them for AP mages anyway, to protect your Magi stacks. And then you will finish with Raybadon. The very last advice I will give you for the Luden build is something to do if you are really confident against the enemy team and you don't feel like you need to buy a defensive item to protect your Magi stacks. So if you have a Magi and the enemy team isn't that aggressive, don't have that much engage, and you feel safe with your boots and the movement speed provided by your Magi, you can instantly go for either Void Staff or Rabadon. And there is something not that obvious that I will say, is that actually if you want to go like an AP item, Rabadon won't always be the right choice. You might think that Rabadon will be super good to rentabilize all the AP provided by Magi, but the thing is, I've done some calculations about it, not some, a lot actually, and from the very moment someone has just a little MR, just a small item of MR, even the Null Magic Mantle, so the 25 MR item, buying Void Staff will deal more damage to that guy. So actually, if you see someone in the enemy team that you want to kill, like an enemy ADC that is fed and this guy is building like MR, just a bit of MR, you will want to buy Void Staff to kill that guy and not Rabadon. That's something you really want to remember, since you can actually get more damage from it with Void Staff. That is like an item that costs 800 golds less than Rabadon, so you will get that power spike way earlier, and you will steal more damage than if you bought Rabadon, that is way more expensive. So keep that in mind. After Magi, if you see someone you want to kill, if he has MR, you buy Void Staff. If he doesn't have MR at all, not a single MR item, you buy Rabadon. That's the build path for Luden. For Liandry, you will do the same as Luden. You will finish Boots just after building Liandry, and then instead of going Shadow Flame, you will go Void, then Rabadon, and a defensive item such as Zunia Banshee. And the same as Luden, if you have Dark Seal fully stacked, you can go right after your second item, which is their Void and not Shadow Flame. You can go Magi, and then build a defensive item for the same reason as Luden, and finish with Rabadon. Actually, This is the full build for Liandry, and you have to know that in very late game, it's always better in terms of stats to build Luden and not Liandry, like always. So if you are fully itemized, you want to sell your Liandry to buy Luden, and also in almost every cases, if you have no void stuff in your stuff but a Magi fully stacked, it will always be better when you are fully itemized to sell your Magi and buy void stuff. In terms of damage, it's just not comparable. Void stuff, it's 10 billion times better than a fully stacked Magi in late game. There is no comparison possible. So yeah, that's all for Syndra build. It's pretty straightforward. You build damage or defensive item if you want to protect the damage provided by your Magi. And yeah, that's all. Runes. So there are two types of rune pages for Syndra. One with first strike and one with Irie. Actually, with Irie you can take two different secondary trees, but we will see that later. So I personally always use the first strike, so I will begin by explaining why you should take this rune page, and then I will explain why you shouldn't take Irie for master or lower tiers ranked matches. So first of all, first strike is easy to proc in lane, while giving you a lot of damage on your opponent, good scaling, and a lot of golds. By a lot, I mean a lot. If you are just slightly snowballing, you can already get more than 500 golds, so the equivalent of almost 2 kills before 20 minutes, which is absolutely huge in terms of stats given and how faster you can reach your power spikes with Luden, Shadow Flame, etc. Second, you will want to take Magical Footwear because the rune is just absolutely OP, giving you the equivalent of more than 300 golds of stats for free, and a bit more movement speed to kite, and you love to kite as Syndra, so that's perfect, really perfect. Also, the arrival of the Magical Boots synchronizes perfectly with the moment you're normally buying Luden if you're not behind, and if you are fed, so imagine 2 kills and a plate, 1 kill and 2 or 3 plates. You can also upgrade them when you buy Luden into sorcery shoes, so you will have the power spike Luden and sorcery shoes, and that's a huge, very huge power spike. You can also take stopwatch, but yeah, if you are playing against Zed or Fizz to avoid one of their all-in burst early game and avoid falling behind, but I personally go for the boots anyway because I find them really, really, really good for Syndra for all the reasons I've just explained. Then you will want to take Minion Dematerializer. So actually, how does that rune exactly works? Because I know that some people don't really know. When you use one of your dematerializers, so you have 3 of them at the very beginning of the game, on the minion, it will kill the minion no matter how much HP he has left. And then for the rest of the game, you will deal more damage to the type of minion you use your dematerializer on. So for example, what you want to do as Syndra is to use one of them on a caster minion, so you can one-shot them with 1 Q when you got Ludens. So basically, when you buy Luden, you just Q all the caster minions, and you will one-shot them because of the bonus damage the dematerializer just gave you on caster minion. And then you can use the 2 others dematerializer on cannon minion to push on enemy recall timings or get your level 6 on the third cannon wave to surprise the opponent, and in general to not miss cannon for your splinters, so your passive. You might ask why don't we take Futures Market? Because it could be theoretically good by giving you earlier power spikes, but the push speed Mino Dematerializer gives to you, sorry, is way more interesting because it gives you opportunities to roam and get the golds Future Market could give you by killing enemies. So that's way better. And for biscuit delivery, I don't really think at all that it's necessary because you already have a good linking phase, and the maximum mana it gives isn't interesting because you are not lacking any mana in lane because of your passive, and also you are not building self-embrace anymore, so there is no point taking biscuit delivery, and it will be also the same reason for why we don't take mana flow bond, but we will see that a bit later in the sorcery tree. So what do we take for the last line of the inspiration tree? We are going to take Cosmic Insight because it gives you haste on TP and flash, giving you more kill windows, map presence, CDR on your Luden, more flash in, so more engages with your E, more flash out, so you will be less vulnerable to assassinations because Syndra is an immobile mage. Even if she can kite, she is still very vulnerable to assassins. So she will very much benefit of that CDR on the flash. And yeah, it's a very good rune overall. It's taken by a lot of champions, and there is a reason, even if the inspiration tree is taken as a secondary tree for some champions, they are most of the time taking that tree because they want cosmic insight, because it's really an overpowered rune. In my opinion, it's really, really, really good, and you want to take it as Syndra for a lot of reason. So now for the secondary tree, we will take sorcery. Why do we take sorcery? The main reason is because we want to take transcendence. It's a very good rune. It gives you CDR, and Syndra needs CDR because you are going to go for Luden or Liandry, and then Shadow Flame or Void Staff, second item. So, not that much CDR, you will just have 20 ability haste from your mythic, and that's all. And since your champion really relies on your Qs, you will need that CDR on your Q and also on your stun to put more stun in team fights, since it has a really, really long cooldown. So yeah, Transcendence is really, really good on Syndra. It gives the CDR that Syndra cannot get from her items, so you have to take it. Finally, the very last rune you will want to take is from this line. So, what do we take? Mana Flow Bond, Gathering Storm, Scorch. So, as said before, you won't take Mana Flow Bond for the same reason as you don't take Biscuit Delivery, because you don't have a lack of mana in lane and in team fight with your passive, and you don't build Seraph on Beres, so just don't take Mana Flow Bond. The real question we are asking there is, do we take Scorch or Gathering Storm? So, Scorch is giving you 20 to 40 magic damage from level 1 to level 18 with a short cooldown on it, 10 seconds, while Gathering Storm gives you 8 AP at 10 minutes and 24 AP at 20 minutes. If we consider a full Syndra combo, for example, with 1 Q for the ult, so in total 4 balls for the ult, you will have a total of 253% of your AP in magic damage. From that, I actually calculated what's worth it between the Scorch and Gathering Storm. Scorch is better before 20-minute game, but after 20 minutes, Gathering Storm gives you 24 times 2.53 equals 61 DMG on a full combo, so way more than Scorch. And between 10 and 20 minutes, when Gathering Storm just gives you 8 AP, playing Gathering Storm only gives you 8 times 2.53 equals 20.24 damage, so less than Scorch. You might tell me that Scorch damage can proc on just one spell and not a full combo, making it even better than Gathering between 20 minutes and 30 minutes. And yeah, you are right. Nonetheless, you will very rarely just harass with Q or QE after 20 minutes because laning phase will be over at that time. Also, the AP given by Gathering Storm and the damage it gives you to your spell can be dealt to minions, when Scorch can only be dealt to champions, giving you a better push if you are playing Gathering. If the game isn't over at 30 minutes, Gathering will give you 48 AP, so the equivalent of more than 1000 golds, so more than 3 kills. That's just very, very huge. And after 40 minutes, it doesn't happen that much that games actually last more than 30 minutes. But yeah, Gathering Storm will just become like an overpowered rune, but it doesn't happen that much. But already at 20 minutes, remember that Gathering Storm is just better than Scorch. So to conclude, I think that Gathering Storm is always better, but if you really want to destroy your matchup in lane, you can take Scorch, but I personally don't recommend it at all. And finally, for the small runes you take, you will want to take attack speed first. It might seem a bit weird if you are like kind of new at the game, because taking attack speed on a mage isn't really, I would say, obvious, but it helps to farm a lot, making your CSing way cleaner and smoother. You might tell me that if you really know how to farm well, it's better to take ability power to deal more damage, but just try to play with and without attack speed runes on Syndra, and you will see why I take it. And if you still don't see why after trying it, I will say that high elo players such as Nemesis or other pro players are still taking attack speed on mages. So I really don't think they don't know how to farm, but they still take it. So I would say take what you want, but personally my choice is made attack speed. And then you will just want to take ability power, and then armor or armor, depending on the matchup. If it is an AD matchup, you take armor, and if it is an AP matchup, you take armor. The only AP matchup I don't take armor against is Twisted Fate, if the rest of the enemy team is EVAD. So now we are going to talk about the IRE pages. So we won't spend too much time talking about IRE pages, because they are just good when played in very high MMR games, where you just want to destroy your lane and have a small lead that you won't throw because you are good at the game. So it's the same reasoning as taking Banshee second. At very high MMR games, you just want to have a small lead on the opponent, and it will be enough to win the game, because you know how to snowball, and you know that if you get a lead, the enemy won't be able to take that lead back, because if you are good at the game, if you have a lead, you don't throw it away. So that's the same reason you don't take IRE as the same reason you don't take Banshee second. So yeah, you just want to take IRE pages if you want to harass your enemy at very high MMO games. But for us, just us that are master or below, just always take first strike. We can still try the IRE pages if you want. So those are the IRE rune pages that actually exist in really good MMO games, if you really want to try them. Spells. So now let's talk about Syndra's spells. So a quick reminder about her spells. Her passive gives splinter stacks from 3 different sources. So when she kills a large minion, she will be granted 1 splinter and mana. So what's a large minion? So that's a cannon minion or an inhibitor minion. When she hits an enemy with 2 spells within 4 seconds, with a cooldown of 8 seconds for each enemy, she will be granted 1, 2 or 3 splinters depending on her level. If she is level between level 1 and level 11, or between level 11 and level 17 or level 18. And she will be granted mana as well. So most of the time in lane you will be between level 1 and level 11, so when you will hit someone with 2 spells, you will be granted just 1 splinter. And when you level up and ranks up an ability, you will be granted 5 splinters. And yeah, the splinters, why are they in her kit? They actually enhance your abilities depending on how many of them you have. So if you have 40 splinters, it grants you the ability to charge 2 Qs instead of 1. So we will grant us 40 splinters. More. And as you can see now, I can charge a second sphere, so a second Q. Now if I have 60 splinters, it will grant my W bonus true damage. So I will just grant myself 4 more levels. Now as you can see, I will deal true damage to the enemy. And when I have 80 splinters, it will enhance my E, giving it a slow after pushing the enemies or after stunning them if I stun them with a ball. So now I don't have actually enough level to show you all the upgrades, but you can trust me, it will slow if you have 80 of them. And when you have 100 of them, it will give your ultimate ability an execute. So it will execute champions below 15% HP. And finally, when you have 120 splinters, it will grant you 15% bonus AP. And any additional splinters you will get won't have any effect, but they will still restore mana. So in late game, it will be very interesting because you will never be lacking mana with that passive. So that's very, very interesting. For the skill order, you will want to max ultimate whenever you can. Then you will max Q, then you will max W, and then finally the E. Why don't we max E after maxing the Q? And why do we max W after the Q? The reason is now after the rework, even if it's been like some months now, the E when upgraded actually doesn't lose cooldown. You don't have like less cooldown on the E when you put a point in the ability. So as you can see now it's like 15.45 seconds. So I will just upgrade it, and you will see it will still be the same cooldown. It does increase the damage, but compared to the W, it's not. It's really not good because like when you upgrade the W, the CD is reduced, the damage is increased, so everything is better, even the slow. So you will want to max W after the Q now instead of the E. So now we can continue with the spells itself. So Q puts a ball on the ground for 6 seconds, dealing damage. W grabs a ball or an enemy minion or large monsters near Syndra. You can then recast it to throw what you've grabbed and deal damage and slow where it lands. So if you take like a ball like this, it will deal damage and slow the enemy. Then the E pushes enemy and balls away, stunning enemies that are hit by a ball. As you can see, I push the enemy away, and if I push a ball and hit enemy with it, the enemy will be stunned for 1.25 seconds. And finally, the R will throw all the balls on the ground, plus 3 balls on an enemy. And as you can like maybe guess, the more balls you will have, the more damage you will deal. So as you can see, if I put like, imagine 3 balls on the ground, I will have 6 balls total because I already have 3 around me, so 3 plus 3 equals 6. We have 6 there, 6 balls. And yeah, that's all for the spells and the passive. We can now talk about the spell tricks. So there we go for the spell tricks. First, let's talk about Q tricks. For the Q, you can cast it while moving, and Syndra won't stop moving, as you can see. You can also cast your Q outside of its range, and it will still cast it, and Syndra won't move to get in range. So as you can see, it's the max range. If I put my mouse outside of the range, like there, Syndra will just cast it at max range. I'm saying that because some spells for some champions actually doesn't work like that. The champion will try to get in range before throwing the thing. For example, it's the case for Syndra's W. If she grabs a ball and try to cast it outside of its range, she will first walk to get in range and then cast it. That's not the case for the Q, as you can see. Now let's talk about the W tricks. It must be like the spell that has the most trick on Syndra, since the spell is kind of weird. It's a weird mechanic, only Syndra has it in the game. So for the W, it's the same as the Q. You can cast and recast it while moving. So I will just grab something and go from there to there. So as you can see, it grabs it, it throws it, and Syndra doesn't stop moving while doing so. Next trick, you don't have to target something, by something I mean a ball. You don't have to target a ball to grab it. So if there is a ball in W range, you can put your mouse whenever you want, like there, and whenever inside the range, and it will grab the ball. you don't have to put your mouse on the ball, so that's maybe something the developers have done to kind of simplify the spell, so you don't have to kind of search your ball to grab it, and sometimes the ball can be a bit bugged, I believe, in some cases, so that's maybe why. But be aware that it doesn't work with minions, lane minions, and jungle monsters. So as you can see, I have the raptors in my W range. If I just spam W here, nothing happens. It doesn't grab the raptors. But there is something else to do. Something else to know. Sorry. For jungle monsters and minions, if you just put your mouse not exactly on the hitbox of the entity, it will still grab it. So if I put my mouse here, it should grab this raptor, even if the raptor hitbox, sorry, is there, it will still grab it. It's also something the developers have done to simplify Syndra's W, but for this case I don't really know how to explain why. Actually I have no clue why they did that, but you have to know that it can save you quite some time by moving the mouse a bit less. So the next trick is W refreshes the Q duration. So as I said, the Q will stay on the ground for 6 seconds, but if you grab it at the end of the 6 seconds, it won't disappear in your hands. I failed that. I will just redo it. So like the Q is going to disappear when it does that. You can grab it and it doesn't disappear in your hands, but when you throw it, it won't actually instantly disappear, but it will take like half a second before disappearing. That's something we will like to use for our combos that we will see in the combo section, to have an ultimate with 6 balls instead of 5 in the early levels, if we can say early, like level 8 or 9. We'll see that a bit later. So what can we do as well with the W? So with W, if you throw a minion or a jungle monster but with the Luden's Echo active, Luden's Tempest. What did I say? Luden's Echo? Whatever. Luden's Tempest. Even if you don't hit an enemy with it, it will bounce. The Luden effect will bounce on the enemy. Actually, it's not really a trick. It's pretty much like, it's pretty logical, but you have to think about it sometimes. It won't happen that much that you will get a kill with that. As you can see, I didn't hit my W, but the Luden still bounced on them. It's something just that you have to know to maybe sometimes get a bit of range to kill someone that is going to die from the bounce of the Luden, but it doesn't happen that much actually. It's a kind of a niche trick. Talking about a niche trick, the next trick will be the most niche trick that you have ever seen on League, like for real. If you use W on a buff, red or blue buff, you will get new effects. Actually, on blue buff, I've read that you should get 1 second CD less on W and 10 mana restored. I tested it, it doesn't work. I don't know why, but what interests us here is the red buff. If you grab the red buff and you throw it on enemies, it will apply the red buff on the enemies hit by the W, so the slow and the true damage dot, the dot with true damage. So you may think that it's a niche trick, so it's not really effective and it won't really impact game, but applying red buff and its slow and its damage in an early fight on multiple targets can really change the issue of a game, like really. So even if you are not in early game and in the further stages of the game, always try to think when you are fighting around the red buff that grabbing the red buff is better than grabbing a ball or a monster, a jungle monster. Try to think about that. Next trick is, if you don't want to throw what you have grabbed with W, you can just back and wait like half a second and cancel your back, and it will just ungrab what you have grabbed. So let's try with a ball. I grab it, I back, I wait a bit, I unback. I can actually just move, just not press B again. And it will ungrab what I've grabbed. Why would you do that? Actually, for balls, you will never do that, basically. The only case where you will want to do that is maybe when you have grabbed a minion and you change your mind. You are like, no, I don't want to damage that minion for whatever reason. For during like wave management thinking in your head, maybe you will just change your mind and you will just want to not damage that specific minion that you have grabbed. So yeah, that's something to know. Also, using W gives vision on where you aim. So if I put a minion behind that wall and I use my W on it, it should give vision on it. So that's something to know for fights around objectives. So you can see the enemy's health bar, the objective's health bar to try to steal it, etc. That's something that you will use pretty often, to be honest. So we are not already finished with W tricks. You have to know that W is faster when you recast it, when you cast it where what you have grabbed is. And where what you have grabbed is will almost always be in front of you. When I say almost, it's because when you grab something in front of you, it will be like, for a small moment it will be in front of you, but it will instantly go behind you. Like, if you grab something, the thing will be behind you. So if you cast it behind you, it will be almost instantly cast on the ground. But if you cast it in front of you, it will take quite some time to land on the ground. So you have to take that in consideration. In your brain, to if you want to maybe predict enemy's movement, you have to know that the W will take more time if it's cast in front of you instead of behind you. The very last trick on W is that you can auto attack when throwing what you have grabbed. So it's something we are going to use for our combos that we will see in the combos section. So if you grab something and you auto attack, you can instantly W after you pressed right click for your auto attack, and the auto attack will still go off. That's really interesting in laning phase, during laning phase when you want to combo an enemy. But we will see that, as I said, a bit later in the next section. So now it's over for the for the W tricks, finally, and now we will see some tricks with the E. So the E gives vision on enemy hit by a ball. So there is a dummy. You can you can see it. We already used it with the values. If you hit an enemy with a ball pushed by your E, it will give vision on it. So as you can see, it can also be used during objectives fight, or just to maybe I would say to check a bush, but will most of the time check bushes with your W, not your E, because your E has a very long cooldown and you don't want to waste it to just check bushes. But yeah, it's good to know. The next trick is that you can extend the stun range with the walls. So if we take this wall, because it will be the most impressive, the most impressive wall to test on it on the map. So as you can see, if I QE from there, it will just go there. But if we QE there, it will go all through the wall and it will arrive there. I will just put a dummy so you can see that I'm not lying. It will go all through the wall and it will hit an enemy that is maybe escaping through the wall, who knows. So that's something to know. You can just do that to extend the range of your stun. You can also do that on other walls. This one, for example. It's a bit less impressive, but it can still work as well. There is also this one. I'm not sure. This one, I don't think it works. Actually, I never did it, so we will try it together, but I don't think it works. Yeah. Actually, I remember trying it once, and it did the exact same thing. I don't know why the balls does that. So don't try this trick with this wall. It doesn't work. But with this wall, it will work. It will 100% work, as you can see. So yeah, you can extend the range of your E with walls. Now the next trick is, if a ball should disappear when being pushed by the E, it won't. It's pretty obvious. It will be a bit weird if the ball disappears in middle of your combo for like when you are not ready for it. So as you can see, the ball is going to disappear. I will push it, and it will disappear just right after. It won't disappear during when being pushed. Like, it's obvious, but it's good to know. Next trick is E will push balls at the same length no matter how next to the ball you are. So I will try to align some balls in front of me so you can understand, and then I will push them. They are pretty much aligned, I would say. I will E them, and as you can see, they are all at the same location. As you can see, there are some that are a bit behind, but the thing is, when the balls are pushed by E, they are kind of considered as entities, and so they will kind of glitch, I would say. But trust me, if there is someone there, like so an enemy there, no matter where the balls are at the very beginning, the enemy will be stunned by the ball. So no matter if you put it there or there, it will still stun the enemy 100%. That's something you can use to surprise enemy in laning phase, to set up ganks for your jungler, for example, or just to set up a combo on the enemy. So from there I can, even from there I can QE an enemy and stun him. And from there, I know it's very long, but if I put my Q here, I will stun the enemy. Max range, I think, but it will stun. As you can see, it works. The ball was right in front of me, and not at the max range of the E, and the ball still went at the same length as if it was max range. So that's something to know. And the very last trick we will see in this video, because there aren't any for the R, since the R is a point and click ability, so there is nothing to do with it, is that the E we still cast if you cast it outside of its range, so it's the same as Q. Remember, the Q, if I cast it outside of the range, it will cast it max range. It's the same for E. It's the same. And that's something we will use in the next section that we will see right now. Now that we have seen her spells and tricks, let's see her combos. So during laning phase, what you will want to do as a Syndra is to harass your opponent. So right now we will see all her harass combo and burst combos without the ultimate. So to harass your enemy and get splinters and mana back with your passive, what you will want to do as Syndra is 3 combos. The first one is the basic QE, so that's very simple. The second one, which is a bit easier to hit, in my opinion, is the WQ, because you will have the slow of your W, so it will be way easier to hit your Q right after. So those are the 2 combos, and there is one last one. It's the EQ, not the QE, but the EQ. So that's something that you will use against melee matchups and matchups that you can harass in general, and that can't do anything to actually get out of that combo. So actually, this combo is actually like undodgeable. The only champions that can get out are like Yasuo, for example, or just a champion that has flash, but they won't use flash just to dodge an harassing combo in lane, actually. So this combo is EQ, and we will use the fact that Q and E are actually cast at their max range, even if they are cast outside of their range. So that's also something that we have seen in the spell tricks. So you will put yourself kind of in the axis of your enemy. So imagine there is like an axis like that. You will put your mouse outside of the range of the Q, and you will just simply press EQ. And as you can see, since the Q max range is also the E max range, the E will push the enemy, knocking them back, so they won't be able to do anything, and it will push the enemy into the Q. So that's really like undodgeable. The only way to dodge it is to flash through the E, or flash on the side of the E, or to win wall as Yasuo, or use an ability that can dodge spells such as the Severe's Spell Shield, or Samira's win wall, if I can say so. So yeah, this combo in lane is really like undodgeable, and you have to actually abuse it against the melee champions, or even like LeBlanc, for example. If you are really good on Syndra, when LeBlanc will dash on you with her W, you can cancel her dash with E and then hit your Q instantly. So you won't have lost HP because of the W, and you will have dealt the damage of the E and the Q, get mana back, and get a splinter. So that's really good. Actually, the two other combos, so the EQ and the WQ, are pretty obvious, but this one isn't. Not much people is talking about this one, so I want you guys to remember this one in particularly, and yeah, abuse it as much as you can. So there are now two combos that you want to do as Syndra to not only harass but kind of burst the enemy. The first one is the QEW, so you will use all her spells. So there are three ways of doing it. One is wrong, the two others are kind of right, I would say. So the wrong way to do this combo is to QE and then walk to take the ball that has been pushed by the E. So as you can see, if you actually QE someone, the ball will be outside of your range, and you will have to walk to take the ball with your W and then throw it. As you can imagine, losing time by doing this is very dangerous. Actually, the combo is less smooth. You will put yourself in a dangerous situation. Your W will hit after the guy gets out of the stun, so we'll be able to maybe flash out, to maybe dash out as well, and you might maybe even get killed against assassins if you do that. So what you will want to do in this combo is not QEW, but it's actually QEW, yes, but you won't grab the ball that has been pushed. So imagine this is a minion, so what you will want to do is QEW. So like that you don't have to walk to take that ball. And the second right way to do it, which is a bit better in my opinion, but a bit harder to do, is to grab something first with your W and then QE and then throw it. So what you will want to do is W, QE, W. So it's even faster, and the ball will actually hit the enemy before he gets out of the stun if he doesn't have tenacity. So yeah, it's a bit harder. You will have to practice this in practice tool if you want to do it in lane in a correct way and as often as possible. So now let's see the very last combo on Syndra without her ultimate. It's actually the all-in combo. So the combo that will deal the most damage in lane without the ultimate. I will just try to clear the dummy, a bit struggling with it. So there, what you will want to do is to cancel your auto attack animation with your second W. So you will grab something, QE, auto, W, auto. So as you can see, it's actually preferable to take something with your W before the combo to make it smoother for the same reason as the last combo. So yeah, that's actually it. I will do it a bit slower for you guys in case you didn't understand. So you will grab something, Q, E, auto W, auto. So in the combo there will be the three spells and 2 auto attacks. Now let's see the combos with the ultimate. What you will want to do as Syndra to burst your enemy once you have your ultimate available and just 1 Q. Because there we will see the combo with just 1 Q, and then we will see the combos with when you have 2 Qs with 40 sprinters, is actually the combo that we have seen just before, so the WQE auto attack W, but we will add the ultimate at the very end and one more auto attack. There I won't actually grab a ball to kind of simulate an enemy minion, because it might be a bit disturbing, because there will be one more ball in the ultimate. So there I will just grab a jungle monster. So what you will want to do as Syndra for this combo is to Q E, auto attack W, or auto attack. So that's pretty simple. Sorry, I will do it a bit slower if you want. So the combo is you grab something, Q E, auto W, or auto attack. So yeah, that was it. Now let's see the combo with 2 Qs. I will give myself some rerolls so I can get 40 splinters. So this combo with this time not 4 balls in the combo but 5 balls, because we have one more ball, is once again exactly the same, but we will add one more Q before ulting. So you will grab something, and then you will QE, auto W, Q, or auto attack. I will redo it a bit slower. So you grab something, Q, E, auto W, Q, or auto attack. Now let's see the combo with not 5 balls but 6 balls. So you may ask, how do we get 6 balls in the ultimate? Because for that we will need 3 balls on the ground, and we just have 2. We will actually use the fact that the W refreshes the Q duration. So that's a trick that I've already explained in the spell tricks section. So you will want to put a ball on the ground, and once you are at the half of the cooldown on the Q, grab it and then do your combo. So actually I take there in consideration that you won't have much ability Ace. The only ability Ace you will have when you will be level 7, 8 or 9 with 40 splinters is the ability Ace provided by Transcendence. Most of the time you won't already have your Luden at this stage of the game, sorry. So what you will want to do is to have like a ball on the ground that you have used to push, for example, or just on the ground, it doesn't matter. So you will put it on the ground. At half of the cooldown you will take it, QE, auto W, Q, or auto attack. That's the maximum damage combo you can do in lane as Syndra before your Luden back, and even after your Luden purchase. So I will do it a bit slower, even if with like the refreshen of the Q duration with the W, I will have to do it a bit fast. So have a Q on the ground, take it, Q, E, auto W, Q, or auto attack. And as you can see, I have the 6 balls on the ultimate. It will be the very last combo that we will see on Syndra to burst the enemy in lane. There is actually one more combo that you can use in lane to actually set up a gank, and also in team fights it's really like effective, even if it's still a really situational combo. This combo is to actually get in range of the enemy with your R, so it doesn't happen that much in lane because you will have to get your QE. Most of the time you will QE to get in range, but this time you have to get in range without using your E. So you will like put like one ball, for example, on the ground. It's not even required, to be honest. So you are first, and once the balls are on the ground, you will want to use your E instantly to stun the guy. So if the guy actually doesn't flash out or dashes out, it will be a guaranteed stun. That's something that you want to use on team fight actually. So imagine, I messed up. Imagine this is like the front lane, and those are his allies. So most of the time there will be the front lane and all the other enemies behind. What you will want to do is to actually ult the front lane and then E to stun the entire enemy team. So As you can see, you might think that's actually broken because it's actually a free 1.25 second stun on the entire enemy team with not that much skill. It's like a point and click ability with the E that is actually still a skill shot, but really not that hard to hit. But thanks for the AFK warning. It doesn't happen that much because once again, if you are in range of the to ult the enemy frontliner, you are like in a very dangerous situation because most of the time the frontliner will have CC, and once again there is the entire enemy team just behind him. So yeah, it doesn't happen that much. You may think it's okay if you are like behind your own front lane, but in this situation, if you have your front lane there, you won't be able to ult anymore because you won't be in range. So yeah, that's something that you have to keep in mind if you want to actually set up a gank, if you are in range of R with your E, or in team fights if you are like in an even game, if I would say so. You will want to maybe play as a CC mage more than a burst mage to actually like CC the entire enemy team if you don't have much CC in your team. So we will play the role of CC mage instead of a burst mage. So yeah, that's all the combos you can do on Syndra during laning phase without the ult, with the ult, and during team fights. And now let's see the general gameplay tips. So the first advice I will give you there is to always check the enemy's tenacity, because when you QE someone, if the guy gets out of the stun earlier than planned, you might get surprised and maybe killed because of that. Most of the time the tenacity is given by the Marguerite's boots, so try to check for them in the enemy's stuff. But it can also be provided by the precision or resolve tree, so those are the runes that can give tenacity. Actually, the resolve rune isn't really present in mid lane, you will more see it in top lane, for example. But for the precision rune, you will see it in some matchups. You will see it in Katarina matchup, for example. Fizz as well, Echo as well, because Fizz and Echo don't like to get full CC'd at all because they want to E to get out, and Echo want to ultimate to get out, so they might take that rune. So yeah, that's something you really need to pay attention to because it's something that can kill you in lane because of a dumb reason, I would say. If you just pay more attention to the tenacity the tenacity the guy has, you won't be surprised, you won't get killed. So please check for that because it's really important. The second advice I will give you, sorry, is to try to all in people in mid lane behind the mid lane walls when you fake roaming or recalling. That's something that I do a lot in my game, and actually the enemy, if he sees that you are maybe recalled or you are roaming, he will try to push the lane and get himself in a dangerous position where you can QE him from behind the mid lane walls. You might think that it's a mistake people won't do, but actually even in master games, I still see people doing that mistake and getting killed, and that's a trick that I abuse a lot to get my first kill in game. Like most of the time in games, my first kill in lane is because of that trick. That small trick, that dumb trick, but people always fall for that. So try to abuse it as well. The third advice, sorry, I will give you is to always check the enemy's MR if he's a browser or a tank. They might not be as tanky as you think, so you might be able to duel them or even one shot them as Syndra. Actually, when you burst a squishy, you will notice that most of the time you will kind of overkill them with your ultimate. So think, if I overkill a squishy, I may be able to 100 to 0 a brother or even a tank if you are ahead, and that's even more true if you have a void staff in your stuff. So try to think about that. You might see new kill windows because of that advice. The fourth one I will give you is to not do and is to not stand still in lane when when your opponent, sorry, is roaming. As Syndra, you have great push potential, and you can also roam on the other side lane to compensate the lead that your opponent will create on the map. So as Syndra, when your opponent is roaming, do something. Go ward on the other side of the map, go roam, try to push if you see where the enemy jungler is, try to push and get some plates, but do something. The fifth advice I will give you there for Syndra is actually it's not only for Syndra, it's for like it doesn't depend on which champion you are playing, but use an app to remember which summoner spells the enemies still have. I personally use Professor just for the summoner spells, not for the stats, because I personally think that the stats are just like disturbing and it's not useful at all. So just use these apps to take notes of which summoner is still available in the enemy team. It will give you more focus on other important things such as CSing, placement, etc. So since those kind of apps are not forbidden and a lot of people are using them, you have to use them as well to be in an equal situation, if I will say so. Don't tell yourself, nah, it's an app, it's cheating. No, it's not. Use them. The sixth, I think it's the sixth, maybe the fifth. I think it's the sixth advice there. I think that one thing everyone should do is to slash mutual at the very beginning of the game. I know it's a sad to play a team game and get into the game and to mute everyone, but it's really better. It's better like that. Actually, messages that are not even toxic can cause losses of attention in the chat. So yeah, just mutual at the very beginning of the game. Actually, don't mute the ping, just the messages. But if someone spam pings, you have to mute his pings as well to not be unfocused. Actually, the reason why you want to mute your allies ping is to actually like check if they ping summoner to report them on your app, as I said before, like Professor, for example. So yeah, mute at the very beginning of the game. Don't mute the ping, and if someone spam pings, mute the pings as well. And the very last advice I will give you is to when you made a mistake, it's to not think about it right after. It will just confuse your mind and you won't even be focused on the game anymore. One thing you still can and should do is to rewatch your mistake and try to understand it, but after the game is finished, not right after you made it. Okay, that's something you want to do. And in game, if you make a mistake, just think about something else. Like just don't put yourself in your position, or you are being like, why did I die? I should have done that. Blah blah blah. Nah, just focus on the game. Watch for the side lanes. Watch for the summoners. And once you have respawned, get instantly into the lane. Don't talk about that if you are duo queuing with your mate. Just focus on where the game is, and you will still be able to talk about it after the game is finished. Bans. As Syndra, you are really fragile, and even if you can kite, you are still an immobile mage. Your natural weakness will be obviously assassins in general. The one I ban every game is Fizz. This champion can dodge your stun, dodge your ult, one-shot you with no counterplay, and the cherry on top is that he can run Tenacity in his runes and buy Mercuries and still be a threat that can catch you off guard, and catch actually your entire team off guard, even with Mercuries. So for all these reasons, you don't want to play against Fizz. That's why you should ban him every game. Skins. As Syndra, a lot of her skins makes it so her balls and spells are very visible and almost flashy for some of them, I would say. So this is Syndra's basic skin, for example, and it has all of her spells in a purple color. which contrasts a lot with the Summoner's Rift textures and colors. That's the reason why I play with only two of her skins, Justica Syndra or Atlantine Syndra. The first one is probably the best if you want to have your spells the less visible possible. So all of her spells are in a yellow color, and the hitbox of her spells is not that visible on this skin, so we are going to abuse that in lane and in team fights. And something else that I like about this skin is the auto attack. As you can see, it's very smooth and really, I find it really satisfying to last it with. So that's something else, that's another reason you might play this skin instead of the basic one or the others. So now let's see Atlantine Syndra. The second one has its spells not that much hidden during the laning phase, so in lane, as you can see. But in the river, they are really like hidden because the textures and the color of her spells actually matches the ones of the river. So that's something that we are going to abuse. But actually, the main point of playing this skin is because I personally think that with this skin, combos are a way easier to do because it feels a lot smoother and a lot cleaner when I do them. It might seem a bit of a dumb reason, but try it and you will understand. The skin is really like smooth to play, and you will take pleasure while playing it. And yeah, we come back to the first advice I gave you. It's to be in a good mood when you play, and if you feel like you are having pleasure while playing with this skin, having like easier combos, cleaner combos, smoother combos, it's just a big plus for this skin, and that's why I recommend it a lot. But to conclude, I personally prefer Justica Syndra over Atlantine Syndra for the reasons I've already explained, and I think that the main reason is because we don't see our spells at all in lane, and not only in the river, and also like her auto attack is just too satisfying. You have to try it. The very last advice I will give you is to not take everything I said in this video as the pure and only truth. I believe that every player has its own playstyle, its own strengths and weaknesses, and this guide reflects mine. I believe that even for the builds that are based on solid calculations, some of them might not be the best for you. For example, you might have a less aggressive playstyle than mine, and so you will always like to build a defensive item third, since you feel like you need it because you consider that your positioning isn't good enough to compensate a lack of defensive stats. But you might be better than me on other points, such as mechanics, warding, matchup knowledge, etc. It doesn't mean this guide is useless, because if it was the case, I wouldn't have done it. This guide is here to open your mind to other playstyles and ways of seeing and playing the game. So try them, and if the tips given don't fit your playstyle, either look for other guides or change your playstyle. It's your choice. That's all for the guide today. Now I will try to get another master account before grinding even higher. And if I manage to get, who knows, hundreds of LPs above my today's level, I will make a new guide so we can improve all together. Don't forget to leave a like if you learned stuff from this guide, and to subscribe if you want to see more Syndra guides and plays. I wish you good luck in your future games, and a very good day.